I'd like to welcome everyone today. I'm President Garcia Morales, and I call this special meeting of February 26th to order. The time is 5 p.m. I'd like to remind everyone to please silence their electronic devices. Before we begin with the flag salute, I want to welcome our AZAC committee members who are present. Very thankful for your service and looking forward to our meeting together. Trustee Zamora, lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please. All right, thank you, Trustee Zamora, appreciate that. Trustee Cavazos, are you ready to make a motion? Ooh, yeah, Trustee Cavazos, here we go. Trustee Cavazos.
Thank you, Madam President. At this time, I would like to make a motion to accept the agenda as presented.
Thank you, Trustee Cavazos. Trustee Zamora?
I would like to second that motion.
Thank you, Trustee Zamora. All right, I just want to reorient ourselves. This is our second meeting in our boardroom. We're really excited to be here. You may be hearing some surround sound. That's because we have two speakers now and a couple of other bells and whistles that have been shared with us. So grateful for this space. Dr. Larson, I just want to take a note for the record, colleagues, before I open this item. This is an action item. These are action items. And before I continue, I want to make sure that we provide individuals who, before we continue, because this is an action item, I want to invite anyone in the audience who has not had a chance to submit a public speaking card to do that now, please. Otherwise, once I turn it over to Dr. Larson Mitchell, we will no longer be accepting yellow public speaker cards. Dr. Larson Mitchell.
Madam President, members of the board, for the record, Brenda Larson Mitchell. With your permission, Madam President, I'd like to invite Brandon McLaughlin, Assistant Superintendent of Construction Management, and Ms. Murphy, Director in Demographics and Zoning and GIS, up to the table. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Larson Mitchell. Welcome. I noticed, and I'm thankful to my colleagues who reminded me that we have not fully adopted the agenda. I went straight into my own remarks and got distracted. So, all right, colleagues, we have a motion. If you could indulge me for just one moment. We have a motion by Trustee Cavazos, a second by Trustee Zamora. Please cast your vote. Trustee Brooks?
Aye.
Trustee Bustamante Adams?
Aye.
Trustee Kate Williams?
Aye.
Trustee Guzman?
Aye.
Thank you, colleagues. That motion passes 7-0. Okay, at this time, we're going to move on to item 2.01. Thank you, Dr. Larson Mitchell, for that introduction. We're going to turn it over to the Dream Team.
Good evening, Madam President, Interim Superintendent Larson Mitchell, members of the board and the commission. Happy to join tonight. Brandon McLaughlin, Assistant Superintendent of Construction here. So I'm here to introduce our 2023-2024 Attendance Zone Advisory Commission recommendations. In a moment, I'll introduce my colleague here to go through this season's recommendations. At a high level, the commission is a customary process that we go through every year and is responsible to provide recommendations to the Board of School Trustees concerning necessary changes to our attendance zones. In the Focus 2024 framework, this aligns with sound fiscal management operational priority area number 1, which is operational effectiveness and efficiency of school and district facilities and operational resources. So by adjusting boundaries, we're able to, with objective enrollment and geographic data, we're able to better utilize our available seat capacity, which is what the team looks at. So with that, I want to introduce Ms. Tracy Murphy with Demographic Zoning and GIS.
Thank you for the introduction. Good evening, Madam President, members of the Board of School Trustees, Interim Superintendent Brenda Larson Mitchell. This evening, we will present to you the recommendations by the Attendance Zone Advisory Commission in regard to any proposed zoning for the 2024-25 school year that they are requesting approval on. The first items, item 2.01, 2.02, 2.03, and 2.04, in summary, those items all relate to the dissolving of the attendance boundary for Burkholder Middle School. The Clark County School District received a $15 million grant from the Magnet Schools Assistance Program in order to implement magnet programs at both Burkholder Middle School and Johnston Middle School. These first four items are in relation to dissolving the attendance boundary at Burkholder Middle School. The first recommendation, 2.01, is to reassign students from B. Malone Brown Academy of International Studies to Jack and Terry Mannion Middle School. This reassigns students on the following map in Area A. This area also includes other letters, B, C, and D, but those are for the subsequent agenda items.
Very good. Is this a good time for us to begin asking questions? Yeah. Okay, colleagues, are there any questions at this time? And if there is, please enter the queue. Members who are online, please let me know, jump in. As a reminder, and I may actually suggest this if there's no one in the queue at this time, I'd like for us to hear items 2.02, 2.03, and 2.04 together. So colleagues, with your permission, may we continue allowing the members of the staff, to continue presenting on these items? Yeah, okay. No objections. I also just want for the record to indicate that these are 2.2, 2.3, and 2.4 are also action items. If there are members of the audience who would like to provide public comment on these items, please submit your yellow card before we continue. Otherwise, we will have, otherwise you won't be included in the public comment area, or you will, but it will be for the end, at the end of the meeting. I'll turn it back over to staff so that you can continue the presentation for 2.02, 3, and 4, please.
Madam President, members of the board, reference item 2.02 is a recommendation from the Attendance Zone Advisory Commission to rezone students from Lyle Burkholder Middle School to Jack and Terry Mannion Middle School. This area is shown on the subsequent map as Area B on this map. Item 2.03 is proposed rezoning from Lyle Burkholder Middle School to B. Malone Brown Academy of International Studies. And this proposal is the area as shown on this map as Area C. And finally, item 2.04 is a recommendation from the Attendance Zone Advisory Commission to rezone students from Lyle Burkholder Middle School to Barbara and Hank Greenspun Junior High School. All four of these items, 2.01, 2.02, 2.03, and 2.04, are recommended with grandfathering of currently enrolled and attending grades 6th and 7th grade students for the duration of their middle school year. Only incoming 6th grade students enrolled to the area would be reassigned each year, and all incoming grade 6 students will go through the magnet lottery process in order to attend Lyle Burkholder Middle School. Thank you.
Thank you. colleagues, that this is the time to ask staff or and AZAC committee members any questions about these items. If there are no questions, because you all, in case there are no questions, I will entertain a motion for on items 2.01 through 2.04.
President Garcia Morales, I have a question.
Yes, Trustee Guzman?
I am just curious if we are considering how our students that feed into the middle school will be feeding into the high schools, and how that will work.
Ms. Murphy? Thank you, Trustee Guzman.
Mhm.
Madam President, members of the board, Interim Superintendent Brenda Larson-Mitchell, Trustee Guzman, the Attendance Zone Advisory Commission did discuss feeder school alignment when they looked at these schools in terms of feeder schools. They considered elementary to middle school alignment, which is 100% feeder school alignment. At the time, they did ask about middle to high school alignment, and those alignments are not 100% alignment from middle schools to high schools. Three of these areas in particular, for example, from Greenspun to Foothill, that would be a area out of alignment from Greenspun to Foothill rather than to Green Valley High School. Area A is less than 1% of those students who would be realigned from Mannion to Basic rather than Mannion to Foothill. And then there's a portion above Area B that would be out of alignment from Brown to Foothill rather than Brown to Basic High School.
Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Guzman. Colleagues, if there are no other questions, Matthew, Mr. Chairman?
Matthew Tramp, AZAC Chair. I just wanted to give a chance if my District A reps who did the work need to speak on behalf of this item. So I have Anna Binder, who is the District A rep for this.
All right, thank you to our chair, Mr. Tramp, President Garcia Morales, members of the board, and Interim Superintendent Larson-Mitchell. Thank you. And then through you to my trustee, Trustee Guzman. We did thoroughly discuss the way that the middle to high school feeder alignment was not 100%, but we felt that because the children from elementary to middle throughout this area predominantly attended a lot of charter and private schools, that the families who chose to stay in public education, this really was keeping those children together. Because I think in the data that we went through, most of them, by the time they even hit the high school level, were choosing magnet and other programs as well. So it's not isolated enough where this was hugely hindering childhood friendships between elementary to high school. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Binder. I appreciate that.
My other District A rep would like to speak too.
Sure. Welcome.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board, Interim Superintendent Larson-Mitchell, and my district representative, Ms. Guzman. I also just want to mention real quickly, for the record, my name is Noé Orozco. Thank you so much. That we also did have some community meetings, several community meetings we were invited to by some of the schools as well. And through all of those community meetings, essentially the biggest concern that folks had were just the grandfathering in. I also do want to just, I would be remiss if I didn't acknowledge that a lot of the community members also that needed the Spanish assistance, that was also the biggest concern that they had. And so fortunately, we were able to have those conversations. The only thing that I would say is if it's possible to have more of that on the front end, it would be really, really instrumental and helpful. I think because of the diversity in the AZAC membership, we were able to address those concerns right there in real time. But that may not always be the case. So it's just something to consider. But strictly to the point, I did just want to mention that those community meetings were very instrumental in terms of the high school alignment. It wasn't so much of an issue that was brought up, at least at the forefront of the community. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Orozco. I appreciate it.
I have just a note that I want to share as I'm hearing through the community sessions, the community meetings that District A conducted, that was conducted in District A. It's just something that kind of comes to mind with my lens specifically around the work the area that I represent in District C, which is a very much urban part of the city. I heard the presentation mentioned that there was a majority of parents from the data are indicating that they are in high school years are sending their students off to magnet programs and or other options, alternative options. I'm very curious about that. Not that that is an item that we're going to discuss here for today's meeting, but I'm very curious because that to me indicates potentially access to resources that families have to be able to transport their children oftentimes on their own. And that's not always the case across our district. So just want to take that note of privilege. And all of our students deserve options and deserve opportunities for an incredible education, which I know that they're. Thank you for that work and that reflection. All right, colleagues, at this time I'm seeking and entertaining a motion for items 2.01 to 2.04. Trustee Cavazos.
Thank you, Madam President. And I am going to make a motion, I just wanted to say thank you to the Zoning Commission for the number of community meetings that they held. I was fortunate enough to be able to make it to a couple of them, and we really appreciate you doing that. And with that, I'd like to make a motion to approve agenda items 201, 202, 203, and 204.
Thank you, Trustee Cavazos. Trustee Zamora.
I would like to second that motion.
Thank you, Trustee Zamora. Colleagues, we have a motion on the floor by Trustee Cavazos, a second by Trustee Zamora, to accept items 2.01, 2.02, 2.03, and 2.04. Please cast your vote. Trustee Brooks.
Aye.
Trustee Bustamante Adams.
Aye.
Trustee Williams.
Aye.
Trustee Guzman.
Aye.
Thank you, colleagues. The motion passes 7-0. We're going to move on to items 2.05. And again, here similarly, colleagues, if I can just extend this at this point in time, this is an action item. 2.05, 2.06, 2.07, and 2.08 will all be collected as well as a unit based on the information that we'll receive from staff here in a moment. I also want to make note for the record that this is an action item. If there are members of the audience who would like to speak on this item, please submit your yellow public speaker card for these collective items. Colleagues, with your permission, I'll turn it over to staff to take us through 2.05 to 2.08.
Madam President, Interim Superintendent Larson Mitchell, members of the board and the commission, Brandon McLaughlin, Assistant Superintendent of Construction. For the record, Ms. Murphy.
Members of the board, Interim Superintendent Larson Mitchell, Tracy Murphy for the record. Reference items 2.05, 2.06, 2.7, 2.07, and 2.08 all refer again to the $15 million grant from the Magnet Schools Assistance Program to implement new STEM programs at both Lyle Burkholder and Carol M. Johnston Middle Schools beginning the 2024-25 school year. These 4 items relate in particular to dissolving the attendance boundary for Carol M. Johnston Middle School. Again, these recommendations were made by the Attendance Zone Advisory Commission. to recommend grandfathering, that students currently enrolled in and attending grades 6 and 7 be grandfathered for the duration of their middle school career. Only incoming 6th grade students and newly enrolled students to the area would be reassigned each year. Incoming students to the Carroll M. Johnston Magnet School would enter through the lottery. Item 2.05 is recommended rezoning from Brian and Terry Cram Middle School to Anthony Seville Middle School. This is Area A on the reverse map of this area. 2.06 is recommended rezoning from Clifford O. Finley Middle School to Brian and Terry Cram Middle School. This is Area B on the map. 2.07 is from Carroll M. Johnston Middle School to Brian and Terry Cram Middle School. This is Area C on the map. And lastly, from Carroll M. Johnston Middle School to Clifford O. Finley Middle School, this is reference item 2.08, and this is Area D on the referenced map.
Excellent, thank you very much. Is there any comment from the AZAC committee? Anything that you'd like to share? Chairman Tramp?
Matthew Tramp, AZAC Chair. One of my members is participating virtually. I don't know if she got connected. I can give her some time. It would be Lydia Dominics. Yeah, she just tells me that she can share. So I don't know if she was able to get connected. If you...
Sounds good. If
Hi,
she...
yes, I can.
Okay.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board, Interim Superintendent Larson Mitchell. I'd like to thank the principals and parents who came out to the community meetings. I think this is going to be a really great addition to our community, and I'm excited to be a part of this.
Excellent. Thank you very much for that.
I don't think the other member is here or participated, so.
Thank you very much. Excellent. Colleagues, are there any questions at this time for staff and AZAC committee members? If there are no questions at this time, I am seeking a motion to entertain 2.05 to 2.08. Trustee Zamora?
Thank you, Madam President. I would like to make a motion to approve 2.05, 2.06, 2.07, and 2.08.
Thank you, Trustee Zamora. Trustee Cavazos?
Thank you, Madam President. I would like to second that motion.
Thank you, Trustee Cavazos. Colleagues, we have a motion by we have a motion to accept items 2.05, 2.06, 2.07, 2.08 by Trustee Zamora, and a second by Trustee Cavazos. Please cast your vote. Trustee Brooks?
Aye.
Trustee Bustamante Adams?
Aye.
Trustee Williams?
Aye.
Trustee Guzman?
Aye.
Thank you. Colleagues, that motion passes 7-0. We're going to move on to item 2.09, and this is a standalone item. Right, 2.09. Before I open 2.09, because it is an action item, I'd like to invite any members of the public who have not had a chance to submit their public speaker card to please do so now. Otherwise, once we turn it over to staff, we will no longer be able to accept public speakers specifically. All right, turn it over to Mr. McLaughlin.
Yeah, Madam President, Interim Superintendent Larson Mitchell, members of the board and commission, Brandon McLaughlin, Assistant Superintendent of Construction, for the record. Ms. Murphy.
Madam President, members of the board, Interim Superintendent Larson Mitchell, item 2.09 is a recommendation from the Attendance Zone Advisory Commission to rezone students from Basic Academy of International Studies to Chaparral High School. And on the attached map, that is Area A. AZAC reviewed this area due to increasing enrollment at Basic Academy of International Studies and current growth in the area by the Cadence and Lake Las Vegas Master Plan communities. It is necessary to provide enrollment relief to Basic Academy of International Studies. Chaparral High School has seats available to provide this enrollment relief Basic Academy of International Studies students residing north of Russell Road and west of the precinct boundary must travel southwest approximately 7 miles or more to school, and Chaparral High School is less than 2 miles from many of these neighborhoods, potentially providing a safer route to school. This recommendation is also made by the Attendance Zone Advisory Commission that currently enrolled students attending and enrolled grades 9, 10, and 11 within the reassigned area be grandfathered to Basic Academy of International Studies for the duration of their high school career. Only incoming grade 9 students and newly enrolled students to the area would be reassigned each year. There was a public input meeting held, and a number of the families expressed their desire to have grandfathering with this zoning.
Thank you very much. Does AZAC committee have any additional comments?
Matthew Tramp, AZAC Chairman. I will yield the mic to my District A and District G reps who worked on this item, if they'd like to speak.
Anna Binder again. Thank you, Chair Tramp, Madam President, members of the board, Interim Superintendent Larson Mitchell. I guess in response to your comment about the middle schools in that area, for perspective, when we're going through this data, we get these percentage change reports, and so when you look at those, that's where we derive the idea of how many kids that are zoned for that school are not attending. And so, for example, Chaparral and Basic actually have right about the same percentage of students, and it's pretty close to about 30%, if I remember correctly. They were both very high. Yeah, and I just wanted to point that out because Chaparral is in a more condensed, very urban area, where I know, like where I volunteer and other people on our committee volunteer, that is a very high need area, but they are finding a way out. And so to me, that means that our district is providing transportation opportunity to the students in that area as well, which is also telling because Basic is a magnet, it has a magnet program as well as taking their educational, or neighborhood students as well. So I thought when I was looking at that data, I thought it was really odd that both of these schools had almost, right around the same amount of percentile change. So, and they both are very dedicated to like their sports teams, their activities. There's a lot of heart, there's a lot of history. And so we do, again, want to thank the principals, the community, everyone who came out. We had 2 separate meetings with them. We did have more concerns about grandfathering than anything, I think. And we had the same issue with our Spanish-speaking population coming to the Basic meeting that needed translation services and whatnot, and we were able to accommodate. So it's I don't know. I think super good. I do know there's a question lingering that I think came in at the last moment, but I'm going to sit back down and see if that gets answered or asked out loud. So,
Thank you. Colleagues, are there any, forgive me. Trustee Cavazos?
Thank you, Madam President. I did have an inquiry, other than the verbal conversations that I had at the community meeting. I did have an inquiry from a constituent asking if basically addressing the recommendations on the boundaries and wanting to know if it would be possible to make the boundary, and this just came in at the last minute, and I believe it's one that Ms. Binder might have been referring to, making the boundary Russell Road and the Wetlands Park. This constituent states that they see no reason to leave the tiny geographical area between Russell and Tropicana with Basic considering its crowding issue and the distance from those neighborhoods, including his own, which he stated, and basic. So did ask me to make that inquiry of the commission, if that could be addressed.
Trustee Cavazos, that's a question for the committee,
Yes.
committee and/or for staff.
Yeah.
Madam President, members of the board, Interim Superintendent Larson Mitchell, Trustee Cavazos, I do not have an answer for you, but we will make it a priority to investigate that information for you.
Thank you, Trustee Cavazos. Okay, colleagues, if there are no other questions, Trustee Zamora?
I have one.
Oh, Trustee Guzman, go ahead.
Oh, thank you. I want to thank the committee. I attended the meeting with them, and we were able to speak to the principals. I am curious because a lot of our students needed busing service. Will this make it so that our students can actually walk to school and it will be less than 2 miles for them to get to school? I read through the documents and it says up to 2 miles. Will there be students that will be walking in less of a distance?
So, Madam President, Interim Superintendent Larson Mitchell, members of the board, commission, Trustee Guzman, great question. We'll refer that to the appropriate staff member through the superintendent, but that wouldn't be our staff members' purview.
Okay, sorry about that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, Trustee Zamora, I saw that you were in the queue a second ago.
Thank you, Madam President. Thank you all for the work that you do. I really appreciate it, the AZAC committee as well. I know we had spoke last week during the briefings, and the big issue was the grandfathering for the schools. And I know this isn't my district, but I see that it's an issue, district-wide when it comes to the information for COSA. And I know that we've been trying to put more information out there, and I just want to put it on the record that it is a thing, and ask the committee members too, that part of, I think, this is being advocates and being the word and the ambassadors to pass on the information about COSA as you're in these community meetings and passing the information along, because not everyone is on social media and, not everyone checks their emails, but also if taking that step and advancing that information will be very helpful to everyone in our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Zamora. Colleagues, are there any other questions? Otherwise, I will entertain.
Madam Chair.
Yes, Mr. Trump. Chairman
My,
Trump.
Anna Binder can answer Linda Cavazos' previous question. She also has an answer for that too, if you'd like for permission for her to speak. It was the one Linda Cavazos asked earlier. Anna Binder has also some answers to that.
I believe staff had mentioned that they are not prepared and equipped to answer that question at this time, and I don't want to undermine the staff and their work. So that's my general request at this time.
Yeah, I was just informed this is transportation's jurisdiction, I think is what she was needing the answer.
Yes,
okay,
that's
so,
right.
Good.
Very good. Thank you very much for that. Okay, colleagues, I am entertaining a motion for item 2.09 at this time. Trustee Cavazos.
Thank you, Madam President. At this time, I would like to make a motion with great thanks to the commission to approve agenda item 2.09.
I'd like to second.
Thank you, Trustee Cavazos. Thank you, Trustee Guzman. Your second is noted. Colleagues, we have a motion by Trustee Cavazos, a second by Trustee Guzman to accept 2.09. Please cast your vote. Trustee Brooks.
Aye.
Trustee Bustamante Adams.
Aye.
Trustee Williams.
Aye.
Trustee Guzman.
Aye.
Thank you, colleagues. That motion passes 7-0. Thank you very much, team, staff. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, AZAC committee members. Thank you, AZAC Chairman Matthew Tramp. Appreciate your commitment to this delicate change that takes place in our district to ensure that our students get the best opportunities possible. Thank you. It's not over, folks. We're not, we're almost done, but not done yet. Thank you very much. All right, colleagues, we have the meeting, upcoming meeting announcement. That's item 3.01, upcoming meeting of the Board of Trustees on Wednesday, March 6th at 4 p.m. The next here in the Edward Greer Education Center boardroom. We're going to move on to public comment on items not listed on action items. Items not listed on the agenda. I have Ms. Adrienne Monares. Come on up, please. There's a mic up here. And I'm going to turn this, I see that you have some specific comments. I'm going to turn this over to our interim superintendent, Dr. Larson Mitchell as well, so she can note to read that. They're right here. This mic there, and I believe it's live. Just state your name for the record, please.
Yes, my name is Ariadne Monares. My child is one of the kids that was affected by the change to do the RTC transportation. And I get it. All logic says I get it. We live near the corner of a main crossing street. But my child has an IEP. Last year, I was able to resort to my community resources. There were a couple parents, and we all took turns on making sure the children made it to school. We flexed with work. We got our adult children to drive them. And we got in the one wagon of allowing kids to get driver's license to go and do that. But now I'm completely out of options. My child has an IEP, and she is unfortunately not very good with decision making when having to walk a long distance. And right now, where the bus stop goes at to Shadow Ridge High School from the RTC transportation is close to a mile. My child doesn't do that. So I know that we have transport that comes in our neighborhood only by one block. The same elementary school that my child walked to, and the same elementary school that my child, middle school and elementary school that my child was able to walk to, and was able to get the bus to go to her high school, they still get transport. My child is able to go to the school zone, and she's able to get off the bus in the school zone, and that will be a much safer option. I'm not capable of doing the driving as much as I would love because school hours do not match work hours. So I do not know what the process is to get an exception for. I have 2 kids at home, but I don't find it to be fair for the other teenager to be supervising and creating conflict with a child that is not able to keep on the path. So I would like to know if I could get an exception for my 2 kids to be able to use the bus that is like literally just on the wrong side of the street.
Thank you for coming in for public comment. We typically don't provide an exchange here. This is just our protocol not to create a dialogue between constituents who come in and provide public comment. However, I've passed your information on to our interim superintendent who is aware of your concern. And there's a gentleman to your left in a blue suit who is ready to support or assist in whatever way we can.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Dr. Larson Mitchell. Okay, colleagues, that concludes public comment at this time. We're going to move to adjourn. I'm looking for a motion. Trustee Zamora?
Thank you, Madam President. I want to make a motion to adjourn this meeting.
Thank you, Trustee Zamora. Trustee Cavazos?
Thank you, Madam President. I would second that motion.
Thank you, Trustee Cavazos. All right, colleagues, we have a motion by Trustee Zamora, second by Trustee Cavazos. Please cast your vote. Trustee Brooks?
Aye.
Trustee Bustamante Adams? Thank you, colleagues. That motion passes 7-0. The time is 5:40 p.m. Thank you, everyone, for your time tonight. Have a great evening.